Illuminati. Yeah, I know she's been covered to death by every other commentary and video essay YouTuber in the world, right? Believe me, I've tried holding my tongue about her. But everything that has come out about her has hit me especially hard, as I used to be a fan of her channel, especially her videos on Autism Speaks, which as a high-functioning autistic man myself really hit home for me, because I do not like Autism Speaks and how they try to speak for us. And I saw Illuminati's video on this non-profit organization as a huge beacon of support towards the autism community. It would just be a shame if Illuminati secretly created sock accounts, pretending to be an autistic fan of hers to run a smear campaign against her ex-friends or something like that. Except that's exactly what happened, allegedly. I'm not gonna go through the whole drama here because it's this ongoing shit show that gives me a headache every time I try to think about it. So let's just say that Blair White, the woman behind Illuminati, is not a good person. She's allegedly super manipulative and vindictive and unreasonable, and considering the sock accounts hypocritical, and she's just crazy all around, it seems. And while that sock account situation is barely a crumb of the pie, it was what floored me in particular.
At the time, I wrote it off as a disgruntled troll with a little bit too much time on their hands and tried my best to ignore it. This was Blair all along.
Like, lady, you sitting here positioning yourself as an ally for autistic people, yet you're doing shit like this behind the scenes? And you're also going after people who were saying the R word decades ago, yet you allegedly use it in private? Like, make it make sense. And it isn't even the first time someone I looked up to was alleged to have been a complete monster. ProJared is a creator I've been a fan of for nearly 9 years now, someone who used to be one of my favorite YouTubers. I remember being 15 years old back in 2015, listening to his E3 presentation rankings each year while playing Minecraft. They were truly some good times, which is why in May of 2019, when his now ex-wife and a couple of randos on Twitter came out with cheating and even allegations against him, it kinda messed me up. Again, even though I never really idolized the guy, finding out that someone you're a fan of is actually a monster really sucks. Except, as it turns out, ProJared was innocent. In what may very well be the greatest Uno reverse card in history, ProJared released a 40-plus minute long response 2 months later, aptly titled, "You've Been Lied To," where instead of apologizing or half apologizing like most people do, he simply went through each and every allegation made against him and proved in detail with receipts why they were all wrong.
I have the receipts.
And not only had it made everyone, including myself, feel silly for clowning on him, but it also started this conversation about cancel culture and how you should trust but verify and always wait for the other side. Innocent until proven guilty, things like that. That's a whole other can of worms that I'm also not too comfortable getting into, right? But the point is, ProJared basically exonerated himself, earned back the respect of the internet, and while he has still yet to get his 1 million subs back, he's still been able to do his thing, whether it be his Final Fantasy videos, or his Twitch streams, or his Now in the 90s show. He definitely seems to be enjoying himself, and I'm super glad for him. But now he's really only known as that guy who almost got canceled, rather than that guy who compared Sonic Adventure 2 to Lucky Charms. And it really sucks. Again, just like Illuminati or LTT, these are YouTubers I used to be a fan of, who turned into villains, or at least other people made them out as such. And while obviously there are other YouTubers who've turned bad, like Sneeko and like half of all Minecraft and makeup YouTubers, it's just that when it turns out to be someone you've been a fan of for a long time, it feels like a betrayal. It makes it feel like you made a mistake ever supporting someone, and you can't help but wonder who else has skeletons in their closet. I mean, obviously there are certain YouTubers who just flaunt their skeletons right on their sleeves, but you really never know. Even the most wholesome of creators can turn out to be monsters. It just goes to show that you truly don't know who these people are behind the scenes.
making like 20, 35K. Like, no, it's not ridiculous for me to ask for somebody who's comparable to me, financially speaking. I have an issue with people who just take and take and take. And there are a lot of women that, well, let me not say a lot of women, but I've ran into some women who just have the mindset of just take. That's where I have an issue with. It's like, nah.
It's a red flag.
Do you still believe that, we can and should live life without, like, anything, quote unquote, like, bad or negative happening?
I mean, yeah, man. Like, why? There's no reason for us to have sad shit happening in life. Like, if your life is good, like, rich people don't go, actually, no, maybe I'm contradicting myself, because I was going to say, rich people, or people who have, like, good lives, don't go, like, what would it be like if I just couldn't pay my bills? Like, what would it be like to just go be hungry for a little bit, What if I couldn't pay for my kids' chemo? Wouldn't that be nice? Like, just a little bit of adventure, a little bit of razzle-dazzle. But at the same time, I do think, maybe some level of adversity is kind of nice. But, like, when I think of adversity, I think of hard work. And everybody does love a struggle story, but no one actually likes to struggle.
It's just struggle.
Like,
I do know some people that, like, kind of, there are some people that kind of, like, thrive in it that, like, because it's a challenge. You know what I mean? But what you're describing, like, poverty, famine, like, of course, I know, like, that's, I don't believe in that. That's not what I was going with.
Okay, what's the specific situation? Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
It's like, well, just how come, like, things happen, like, life gives you roadblocks, life gives you challenges, like tests. And, it's things that you have to overcome, or just like you said, just to boil it down into one word, adversity. Not being, like, poor and destitute and starving for, all your life or whatever, but, is because, like, those things do actually, if you approach it correctly, if you, like, actually go through it, or, like, once you get through it, you actually do learn a lot. Like, a lot of times, like, those be when you learn, like, your most valuable lessons.
I don't even like school like that. Like, let me backtrack. I agree. You know what? Yes. I think that, because it's like a video game. Like, a video game that's too easy is not fun. But a video game that's too hard is also not fun.
Yeah.
So I do feel some level of challenge for the game elements of life. Of, like, because this is what you want. What you really want in life is to have challenges that push you to be greater and that you are capable of overcoming. Like, challenges that teach you how strong you can be without fucking your life up. Kind of the way that people say, like, oh, God only gives you what you can handle kind of shit.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is necessarily true, because obviously, like, life often, like, very often just completely fucks people up and they just don't ever get back up again. But in my life, I've had challenges and it's great. Like, it's wonderful feeling like you have life handled. But in order to do that, you have to have something to handle. Like, oh damn, I gotta figure out how to get my money up. I gotta figure out how to get, how to find a girlfriend. I gotta figure out how to, solve this problem or fix my leaky roof or just whatever it is. There is a lot of beauty to.
Yeah.
And so yes, I think that if I just had a life where it was just no challenges, everything happened exactly how I wanted, I never had to figure anything out, I never had to, sit down and make a plan and make a budget and figure out what the next steps are, just anything I can imagine happen, you're right, that probably would not be an enjoyable life. So, yes.
Right. And I think that book, The Alchemist, like, really encapsulated what you're describing perfectly. This is like a perfect analogy to just life. Guy goes on an adventure because he's like, this being at home isn't doing it for me. Like, this isn't fulfilling. Like, I need to really go out here and do something better, do something with my life. Goes on an adventure. Good shit happens to him. Bad shit happens to him. Terrible shit happens to him. Great shit happens to him. And then, like, he ends up coming back home. But it was just a really good analogy to life, and we are powerful creators in that, and in the adversity. Just, you never know how you struggle. What you gain from a struggle that you went through actually sets you up for success later on down in life. Of course, hindsight is 20/20, but when you're actually in it, you have no idea how this shit is going to play out. So that's where the anxiety, the fear, the terror, the stare, the destruction of stuff. That's not going to deal
some
with
shit
it.
that I definitely could be like, I could have done without that. Because you don't know why you're going through it. Because you might be going through some shit and be like, okay, on the other end of this, it'll actually have been a pleasant experience. So I think really the question is like, should life have challenge? Absolutely. Should life have suffering? I don't know about that because most of the challenges in my life, I'm like, I kind of relish the challenge. I'm like, oh, I like figuring some shit out. I got to figure out how to make this shit work. I got to figure out how to, make this pull this creative project off and pull people together and figure out what it's gonna be and figure out where we're gonna get money and blah 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 and do that. That's cool. That's a challenge, but it's not suffering. Suffering. I have had situations where I've suffered and I learned something about myself. I've learned to not make another mistake again. I learned what to look out for. If you went back in time or I had maybe a reset button that was like, yo, would you like to have not experienced that shit? And hell yeah, take it back. I didn't need
that nigga would have pressed that button so fast that he wouldn't have been able to finish the sentence.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't even finish figure out what the drawback was. But it'll erase all your time from them. I don't care.
Oh, you'll have erectile dysfunction for the rest of your life.
Well, okay, that's fine. Take it back. I don't care. I wasn't using it anyway.
I'll deal with it.
Was not using it anyway.
I can get a prosthetic nowadays anyway. They make dicks that you can put on your dick. It don't matter.
I've been, it's modern technology. I've been taking purple chew anyway. Now, honestly, those erections were a bit of a problem in my life, so, cool.
I'll tell you, damn those erections. Well, welcome everybody to Waving the Red Flag, the #1 dating and live well and safe erection podcast in the universe. It's Josh, it's Eddie. For all your anime fans out there, you'll be happy to know that Alvin is actually in Japan, speaking and consulting with Yoshihiro Togashi, so that he will actually come out with a new season of Hunter x Hunter. So he will continue to work on the manga. So you guys will be very happy to know that. And we are praying that he does well in this role. So Alvin will be back maybe next week. So we should be seeing him soon. Eddie, my guy, what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
My Gabron, my Paisan, how you doing?
Come on.
What can I come to you humbly.
Coming through me, y'all. I feel it, man. I'm going to tell you, my guy. Let me tell you, I'm feeling fulfilled like a fucking ganoush. You know what I mean? Or fucking cannoli. Fucking cannoli. Bring up to the top. That's how I'm doing tonight.
Hey, cup runneth over.
My God. They tell me I cannot pour from an empty cup. I never had an empty cup. I don't know shit. I'm just pouring in.
It can never be me.
Never.
Two cups Johnny, that's what they always call me.
That's what they call me, shit. I was the original, you know what I mean? I was the impetus for the whole 2 girls, 1 cup type situation. But it was a little different the way I did it.
Yeah, but it was 2 cups from 1 girl.
Yeah, exactly. And both the cups were mine. I'm not going to tell you what was in both of those cups, though.
We keep a bitch thirsty around here.
A bitch might be thirsty, but she'll never go on. Not tell you that much, Johnny.
What are we talking about?
Shit. Man, we talking about... Oh, man. Oh, yeah, the Tyler Perry thing, bro. It looks like Tyler Perry might be landing himself in some hot water with some spicy takes that he's made about black women. And we all know, whenever you mention black women, you better be ready for that goddamn heat.
He right, though.
But yeah, I mean, look, let's get into it. You want to roll the tape? You want to roll the tape?
Okay, let's see.
Listen, a lot of women, especially black women, I might get in trouble for saying this, but I will.
Oh, he knew he was fucking up.
In our society right now, black women are making a lot more money for the most part than black men, right? There are a lot of black men who are successful, but for the most part, black women are making the money. So if you can find love, if that man works, at whatever job, and is a good man, and is good to you, and honors the house, and honors his wife, and does what he can, because his gift may not be your gift.
Exactly.
That is okay. That's not somebody who's beneath you.
Yeah.
That's somebody who came to love you at your worth, right?
Yeah.
And as long as he's secure in himself to know that, she makes most of the money, all I can pay is the light bill. As long as she's comfortable enough to say, I'm going to cover the mortgage and all the other stuff, you can have the light bill, baby, you can take me to dinner and everything like that. That is fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But that's so hard for a lot of people to take in because it means, no, I need somebody who's, they need to make 5 times more, and I got to have. Don't keep your list, baby.
Yeah.
God bless you. Hope it happens. Don't keep your list. But when you talk about just someone to love you and support you, I know people who's men can't touch what they do. But when you see them again, that love, that support, that I got you, babe, it's a beautiful thing.
It's a whole lot of caveats, but that nigga's right.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of caveats, and it's a whole lot of caveats. Because it kind of goes back to that Ebony K. Williams conversation we had with FD. A little
Black management niggas like to say that black women don't want black men. They don't want to be submissive. They want every man to be a corporate thug with a 10-inch penis and like a 5,000.
I'll let you boy.
And a 5,000 word vocabulary, a 5 billion word vocabulary in 5 degrees.
I got 2 out of 30. Guess which?
so like, that's not. He said, Rich, I was like, nah, I just won. So that's just not true, right? That's not true. The reality is, black women, if they're dating black men, if they're educated,
well, she was saying that she wouldn't necessarily date the bus driver. Like, she wants somebody who is, financially, competitive with, like, not we're fighting against each other, but like, we're around the same ballpark. You kind of got like a boss mentality, like, you got your own things going on, like you can contribute to what I'm providing as well. But I know a lot of people heard that.
Man. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. What did you see?
Just like a lot of vitriol, a lot of anger that I was not expecting in response to this. Like I saw somebody that we follow. So she was like, and every time these conversations come up, here come niggas saying, the black community is the only community having these conversations. White women, Asian women don't. And it's like, bro, y'all motherfuckers don't know no Asian or white people, because I promise you, they're having these exact same conversations.
Oh my God.
Either behind closed doors, or they've already come to conclusions about these conversations. I promise you. But she basically said, only black women are expected to choose poverty in these conversations. And I'm like, again, lots of caveats. We'll get to that in a second. But referring to dating poorer men, dating financially down. But it's like, first of all, no. I promise you, white women been doing this. The last prime minister of New Zealand, her husband is a goddamn construction worker. She's the head of state. They've been doing this. Like, it's and it doesn't have to be made into a competition thing, but I think because we're in, like, black folks get into our black folk bubble, we think all of a sudden that everybody else isn't doing the exact same shit. And I think it goes to something else that I see a lot, which is that Twitter will be like, oh, black people always have a drawer that got a bunch of random shit and some like grocery bags, and it's like, actually everyone has that. That's not actually
everybody. A lot of people, a lot of other races got that same drawer. It's just So you're absolutely right about that. Yeah, because I'm not surprised at all that people got upset, offended, because it's just a continuation on this very toxic conversation that, and this is not what Tyler Perry said, but I think when people hear it, it's like, oh, black women, when they talk about dating women in general, it's like, oh, they always have this list, oh, my man needs to make this amount of money, he needs to take care of me, like, meaning, like, he needs to finance my entire life. And I think that's kind of where that anger stems from, or just the anger at the expectation of it, even though that's not necessarily what he was saying. Per se, it's just like, no, if you make a lot of money, if you can like afford to finance yourself, you're basically doing the same shit that you would basically like just flipping the role of that you would expect a man to do. And
nobody would say, oh, that man is choosing poverty in this
yeah, right. Like, no one's asking you to choose poverty. Like, I think like a lot of times, like, it kind of gets taken like way out of context and just go way left and like run a whole mile with it. Because I don't think that's what any, like, saying a logical person is, like, asking of any woman or any black woman. So now you have to choose poverty.
And you know what? I will say his example was stupid. Because for the sake of making a nuanced argument, because I can see him trying to soften the language to not blow it out into, like, only the extremes. But I see somebody on Twitter say, okay, but Tyler Perry is a billionaire. He can afford to have his man just pay the light bill. The rest of us need to make that campaign bills.
True. Absolutely. For real though, man.
Tyler Perry can have 4 or 5 little boy toys in the crib, not paying no bills. He can afford that. The rest of these movies can't do it.
I searched the world for the sexiest black men alive, and I found them. My shirtless men. And Jesus was pleased.
I didn't know religion worked like that.
Well, one, I think a lot of those conversations really talk about a specific type of person. Whether that be a person that's in a specific tax bracket, mind you, the vast majority of us, man, woman, he, she, they, them, ain't fucking there. Even though a good bit of people within that majority of people who want that sort of type of person ain't there to be at that financial level anyway. But like, they be talking about like a certain type of person that already got it, and then 2, another type of person that don't got it but want it. But that's not, and then that conversation gets conflated so much to where we're getting brainwashed into thinking way more people have that mindset than actually do. I haven't dated any woman in real life that was on some like, nah, you take care of everything type shit. And if I did run across a woman like that, I wouldn't even like pursue it, wouldn't even entertain it because cool, we're not compatible. I ain't doing that. I ain't got it. And even if I did have it, I wouldn't do it.
But I mean, you've talked about this being something like an expectation. But let me approach it from a different perspective, which is that somebody has pointed out that women in general, but black women specifically, have really already been on this type of time. And this is a point that I think out on Twitter, which is that the gap between us and black women has always been smaller than with other races. And I do think that Tyler Perry makes a good point that I think that for some circles, like right now our gap is already small, and it's already been pointed out that gap is going to reverse in the next 20 years. But I think that in some circles it's already reversed, which is what I think Tyler Perry is talking about. Because he kind of misquotes. Like, black women aren't making on average more than black men, but it is quite close. But in certain circles, yes. But in certain circles, I think it's already there. I think if you're in tech, if you're in, the social science, in certain areas, it's going to be quite difficult. And Alvin's talked about this. This is why he's a rare bird. If you're a black woman who is a high-level earning professional, it's going to be harder up there to find another black man. And I've seen plenty of podcasts just talk about it. It's fewer and fewer of us once they start getting up into those high-level, she's a doctor, she's a lawyer, she's a consultant, she's in tech, she does, data science or whatever. Once she gets up to that C-suite level, there's fewer and fewer black men up there. So at the medium level and the low level, sure, our incomes are probably comparable, but once you're making them high 6 figures, it's not a lot of black males up there. So in those situations, then what Tyler Perry is talking about. And I just went off on some different shit, but what I was getting at is black women have kind of already been paying half the bills and splitting bills and all that kind of shit. So I think the problem is that there's this conversation where women's worth is tied to how much money is spent on them by a given man. And so it's like, if my man's not taking care of me or paying the bills, then that means I'm not loved or I'm not worthy or something like that.
Or
and that's
kind of looked down on by other people if they learn the dynamic of your relationship. So there's also that. Damn, man, that's
so you're kind of trapped
with Jones mindset too when it comes to dating. I ain't thinking about that.
And I think I think there's a pressure on women in general, maybe black women specifically, to be like, if this, because it's like with that like with the Desirable Truth video of like, why would he marry you if he's already getting the benefit shit?
So why would he put a ring on it then if he's already getting everything?
That's a good question.
There's this, we've convinced women that marriage and money is love. And so if you're not getting those things, then you're not being loved. And so it's a bit of a trap because you might be getting those things and not be getting loved. You might be getting loved and not be getting those things. And so, but if you convince women that it's those things, then instead, you convince women that marriage is what it isn't, You convince them to take a losing bet or a losing investment. But I think Alvin made a very good point, actually, on Twitter, which was just that since black women have already been doing this and have already been paying half the bills in real life, not on this internet shit, and that's already been the case, conversation should be a lot less focused on black women adjusting their age. So this is one of the caveats now. black women, it should be a lot less focused on black women adjusting their unrealistic expectations of men's financial contribution, and should be a lot heavier on what are men in these relationships, which already exist, going to do to show up, to actually meet, to do the thing that Tyler Perry is describing, meet you at your work, and be here and give life and light to the relationship. So it's like, cool, are you taking care of the baby like you're supposed to? Are you fixing shit in the house how you're supposed to? Are you cooking and cleaning and doing blah 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 whatever in the household? Are you providing a safe space? Are you doing half of the labor so that she's not, bringing home the bacon and having to cook the shit and thaw it when she comes into the house every day? But that's not a conversation that really is happening at all. It's all about women's unrealistic expectations, but really no conversations are being had that I'm seeing about, okay, so once she does pay more of the bills or pay half of the bills because she's spending more money, what are you then bringing to the table? That conversation isn't happening.
It's not happening at all. You're right. That conversation is not happening at all. And then, like, both you and I would say, like, there's something that black women are historically already been doing. Like, they've already been taking care of the home. They've already been in one place contributing financially to the home. That hasn't been out of the ordinary, like, you know what I mean? But yeah, there is a conversation. There is a conversation that is needed for how can men step up so we can, for one, keep up with this moving and changing economy that's clearly fucking everybody over. How can we secure our how can we secure ourselves, and how can we be providing and matching what the women are doing? And a lot of times Albert mentions that black women are getting all these degrees and That's like following one path for to possibly gain more financial income. But that's not the only path. Guys don't. A lot of people, school ain't for everybody. Niggas ain't. Brothers, you don't have to go to school and get all these degrees. Find a trade. And if that trade ain't, you can make a lot of good money by having a trade, opening up your own, get your LLC, my brothers. You know what I'm saying? With your trade.
Get a union job, yeah.
Yeah, but there's a lot of ways in which you can make money that don't involve necessarily becoming, getting a degree. You can go after certifications. There's a bunch of different certifications. So there is, I do think that as black men, and there are a lot of good black men that's actually doing that work. But I live in Atlanta, so I see a visual representation of it. So I might be a little bit spoiled in that regard because I see it a lot. So I might be actually kind of spoiled in that. But there's a lot of ways in which that we can continue to progress ourselves and continue to progress our finances and be better partners. And not saying that there's not areas for improvement for women to be better partners too. But for black men to have that conversation, there's plenty of ways that we can have a conversation to be how do we become better partners for our women or your partner, depending on whatever you like.
Y'all not gonna give me this episode,
I'm just trying to make it as inclusive as possible.
Hey, you're right. I mean, but to be fair, this is I think it's a man-woman conversation because I feel like the Hays and the gays and the Hays, they've kind of got this. They've got a different situation, but I also think they probably, if I had to guess, got way more egalitarian households in terms of finances and taking care of household shit than we do. You know what I'm saying? I think their situations are probably more sorted than us.
I think so. I think there's a lot less ego behind it too, and a lot less expectation. Then a lot less ego, a lot less expectation behind it. But I have seen certain instances where it's oh my God, I was dating men, and then I was like, fuck it, I hate men so much. But I'm attracted to girls. Let me go on some dates with girls. And then they find themselves in the role of someone with more masculine energy, and then being looked at to take on those responsibilities, such as who's paying for the first date. You kind of come into that, oh my God, she wanted me to pay for everything, and she wanted me to do X, Y, and Z. These are normally things that I don't request from my partner, and I'm being asked of it. This is being asked of me,
What? I wanted to date a girl. I didn't want to be a nigga. What the fuck?
I wanted to date a girl.
This is for the niggas.
What the fuck? I could
no, you're 100% right. Queer motherfuckers definitely end up on the same type of bullshit as like gendered bullshit as us, because I've heard studs all the complaints that niggas have about women, I've heard studs make the exact same complaint. She's really she's expecting me to do X, Y, and Z, da 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 da, and I'm like, but also
It's fun.
they
It's
bullshit
funny,
the
bro.
same way too. It's hilarious. They bullshit the same way too. I was working with a girl who was on the masculine side, and she was complaining about her dating life, and half of it was shit where I was like, and the other half I was like, you really kind of being a fuck nigga though, like.
You're right.
Like the way she was complaining was so just mannish. I was like, yeah, we really didn't change anything. It's just the same dynamic and the same problem. So that's a fair point. So yes, let's include the masks, the femmes of all genders, and that's a, you know what, you're right.
Yeah. But it's I don't know, like it's still kind of like fun to me because like even if like because I know like I've met some studs like in real life, and when they talk about how they approach women or like it be sounding mad niggerish, you know what I mean? But then like the thing that they complain about, that like if you say to any guy like in like a legit meaning like a safe space for guys, if you say the shit that our legitimate complaints or like there is improvement that women can make when dealing with us. When I just find it so funny when like other women say the same shit to us and we all just look at each other like yeah. Oh, this is
Yeah. But no, I think it's good, and I think that's probably a good place for that conversation to be had, because I do think that people have fucked up expectations of men specifically, but just to your point, in general, masculine presenting people. Like girls who are dating studs oftentimes don't accommodate their emotional well-being the same way they would like a feminine, lesbian. So, and I've seen that shit happen. So that's facts. But wait, why do we get on that? Because I was gonna say something.
We got way off topic. Okay, we was talking about Tyler Perry thing.
Yeah, because it was something about for men and for women, and then anyway, I'm just gonna make this point. We'll see if we come back to it. But I think where Tyler Perry fucked up is saying if he paid just the light bill, because I think that was a dumb thing to throw in there.
Yeah.
Because
right.
it seemed like the niggas just shouldn't be contributing anything. I would say unless you've got a very expensive light bill, like if you're dating a guy who makes $35K and you make $500K, and the light bill at y'all's mansion is he can just barely get it with his job. Okay, cool. And if he's taking you out of things. Right, if it's $1,500 a month, then cool, maybe he just gets the light. Y'all got mad chandeliers and shit. Okay, cool. And maybe that's what, because again, Tyler Perry is a fucking billionaire. His light bill probably is something that a nigga for making $35K
something ridiculous,
could just barely pay. But I think if you go, hey, look, I'm making a lot of money as a black woman. The men that there are men that are interested in or attracted to, but they don't have multiple degrees, blah blah blah. They're not going to be able to meet me here. Cool. We can make a prorated contribution to this relationship. I think is fair, because the whole conversation of like you don't want to support your partner, and you made this point of like y'all are looking down on men who are potentially in the role that you are actually seeking to be in. So when a black man wants his partner to support him financially while being a good partner, it's choosing poverty. But when you want the same thing, it's just looking for a provider. Okay, there's a little bit of nonsense double standard here, but I think the way forward is to go, okay, what is an egalitarian relationship setup that can work for everybody across all types of gender dynamics? And there is, look, give what you can, and don't look down on people who have a different, if you're, making 100, you can prorate that. Now, light bill, realistically, it's probably going to be slightly less of the rent, especially if you want to live in a place that he wouldn't be able to afford otherwise. But if it's light bill, all the groceries, and every date night, that's probably racking up plenty to where he's making a contribution that is based on what he's bringing to the table financially. And then we have a conversation about contributing to the household based on that, income and all that. So, yeah, I wouldn't have gone with just the light bill, but the general point, back to agreeing with Tyler Perry, I think is a very, very fair one, specifically to those women who are looking only for someone financially, that is their financial benefit, to the exclusion of everything, which to our point isn't everyone, and maybe not even most.
Yeah, because I think that's like really the crust of the argument that you might need to make clear, because people will hear that and then not, and just like, what the fuck? Oh, I need to live X, I need to live. But one thing I might have to oppose a little bit of opposition and provide like a little bit more nuance into that, because at the end of the day, it's really not fair to single black women out with that sort of rhetoric. Because I can't blame anybody who wants a certain type of lifestyle. Like if they doing for themselves, they making a good living for themselves, they're making like 100 plus, they can afford to do whatever. And I think this is where like the sentiment that they express, or like, oh, it's just choose this problem. I think that where the sentiment comes from is like, no, what the fuck if I want to have like $1 million home? And shit is just getting crazy expensive. Like $1 million home could just be strictly off of location. The house might not even be more than 3,000 square feet. And I need a partner who can help me with this, or who can go in on this with me. It's not even, so no, I can't date somebody who's making like 20, 35K. Like no, because this is how I know where I want my life to be. This is where I know I want to live, and it's not ridiculous for me to ask for somebody who's comparable to me, financially speaking, and is also sane enough to take care of me emotionally, spiritually, look out for me. I serve you, you serve me. I have an issue with people who just take. And there are a lot of women that, well, let me not say a lot of women, but I've ran into some women who just have the mindset of just take. That's where I have an issue. It's like, nah, you gotta goddamn put in on something around this motherfucker, cause like,
yeah, cause you're being a leech.
Yeah, like I'm not for leeches, bro. Like that's not what I'm doing, cause if they on that type of time, that ain't happening. Like no, we just not compatible. I'm not gonna shame you. You can keep your, like Tyler Perry said, you can have your list if that's your mindset. Cool, see how that works out for you.
But see, here's my, because I agree with all that. Like, back to the Evan K. Williams thing. I agree with all of that. Like, I think if you have goals in mind for what you want with the life partner, because it's not just a romantic partner, it's not just a sexual partner, it's a life partner. So you're making plans. So you're going, here's what I would like to accomplish with my partner. I want to build this business. I want to get this home. I want to get these type of sinks and these type of countertops. And having a person who can't meet a certain level of financial obligation is going to hinder those things. Cool. That's not a non-issue. And I think that's where a lot of people fall. Where I did have a big issue is once you start looking down on people who don't meet your standards. So this goes back to standards and purposes. It's fine. I think it's fine to have, like, if you say, look, I want a 6, if you say all of that shit, like all of the cartoonish Red Pill podcast, nigga, versions of what a woman wants. I want a 6 foot tall with a 10-inch dick and, making $250,000 a year and da 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 da. Even if those are things that you want, I think that's actually fine. As long as you're not acting like men who want that thing are somehow evil, inadequate, disgusting, etc., etc. And I find a lot of that, like a lot of what Ebony K. Williams, a lot of her rhetoric in response to the initial comment of being like, no, I don't want to date a bus driver, and I don't have to, because I make a lot of money, and I want to be in a situation where my partner doubles my income, not just, meets 10% of it, because I want to be able to buy a house that is at that level. Cool. But once you start, using that rhetoric that shits on working class people, then we have a problem. So I agree with all that.
Well, you already brought this up, so let's switch to like the desirability, desirable thing with the guy who was would you marry? Why would he marry you if he's already getting the benefits?
Man, because I was arguing about this on Twitter. Well, not even arguing, discussing it properly. Yeah.
What's up,
sure.
Proposed to you yet?
No.
Not yet. It's coming. What?
Why would you put a ring on it if we already live together? If I'm already doing wifey shit.
I genuinely love you.
Oh. So when you plan on proposing, you starting something.
Why do I need a ring, dude?
If you love me, nigga, you
Show
don't
you
put a ring
my
on it.
love and dedication.
Yeah, Beyonce
When I
said if you like you, put a ring on it, nigga.
A ring is making it official.
Yeah, it's no such thing as official. You love each other. It's just like
A ring is making it official.
everybody got their own opinion. So it's just like she's a female, so a female gonna have their own opinion anyway.
You're single until married, in my opinion.
That term don't mean shit to me. Yeah, I'll be all the way authentic with you. I'm being authentic with you. I'm being 100 with you.
Yeah.
That term you just said.
He got
don't
mad
mean
as fuck
shit.
just then, but he kept it. Yeah.
I think that's a crazy ass term, like the same
You're single until you're married? Yeah. He was like, we in public, but you really have me fucked up. Like when he was like, the way he responded, I could tell he was infuriated.
Yeah, right. You gonna let this nigga drive a wedge between us like this?
So you're single now because I haven't proposed. Okay, now you really are. But also, old boy, he's not very articulate.
No.
Like he seemed like he was either half drunk or just a little bit, he's not really good with words. So he was struggling to articulate a lot of his feelings. So I'm going to give him a lot of leeway in my take on this because I don't think that I think he was on the back foot that whole conversation where she had a lot more, and she had an instigating nigga like next to her with a mic. So
that was such a bullshit question. Like that was such a bullshit question to ask that couple. Like that was clearly for clicks, views, to be divisive, controversial. Like controversial. Like, but yeah, go ahead.
But I saw a lot of women agreeing with it, and I understood I understood to the extent where they were coming from. But I think by convincing women that money and marriage are love, that's how we convince women to continually take on a losing investment, which oftentimes is marriage. Being in a relationship where your partner doesn't actually show up for you and actually doesn't take on house labor, doesn't take on emotional labor, doesn't take on child labor, because we've been convinced that a relationship between a man and woman is a transactional purchase. It's some old school purchasing a cow, and if you're a good, worthy woman, the man will buy you. And it's red pill logic, but it's just repackaged in a way that is very palatable to women. Like if you watch any of Desirable Truth's content, he's very much a red pill content creator. Every single watch any clip from him, it's very clear what ideology he's on, and this is more of this. This is not, I promise you, this is not pro-woman content at all. So I think it's a very enticing rhetoric that seems like, oh yeah, men need to do better, but it's like it's not what you think it is. It's not what you think it is at all.
Yeah, I'm not really that big of a fan of the institution of marriage in the first place. Like the older I get, and the more I've learned and just seeing how marriage works, the ideology that people have behind marriage. I've seen how marriages end, how nasty, ugly can get.
Every day I wake up and I hope you're dead.
You got paperwork in between you. You might mess around and be with somebody who just really wants to ruin you. And, it could be because their partner wasn't fair to them during the marriage, so they're getting what they were owed on the back end,
Yes.
So, it's just like the whole institution of marriage, I'm not even really a fan of it. If I'm being totally honest, I don't even know if I really want to get married in the first place. Now, does that mean I don't love my person? Does that mean I'm incapable of loving my partner? No. Not at all. But, and this shit is sad because, like, she got sucked in. I can tell, like, she's it's not like in a derogatory way, but I can tell, like, she has like a certain school of thought. You know what I'm saying? So I can see why she instantly took the bait of why he ain't married? Because she's like, oh my God, you're right, I'm doing wifey duties already, and then I'm single until I'm married. Like, and I don't know what the nigga doing tonight. I don't know what he's doing for her.
That's the other thing. We don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what she's doing for him. All we know is that they're living together.